latest rumors surrounding superstar edge rusher TJ Watt and quarterback Aaron Rodgers could mean bad news for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Before we break down the latest Steelers rumors here on today's edition of Steelers Talk, get down there in the comment section and let me know. What is your concern level for the Steelers right now of everything surrounding TJ Watt and with Aaron Rodgers still not agreeing to a contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers? How worried are you about the 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers? Put it on a scale of 1, meaning, man, I'm not worried whatsoever, to 10, meaning I am in full-scale panic mode. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section to kick off today's show. So we'll kick off kind of the content on today's show here by talking about what TJ Watt posted on his IG story. Yesterday, we did put out a video on it when it happened yesterday, but we got more information on it today. He posted this photo on his IG story of him looking upset, putting up the deuces like he's leaving, and a lot of people began to speculate. Does this mean he's retiring? Does this mean that he's going to request a trade? Does this mean that he's unhappy with contract negotiations with the Pittsburgh Steelers? And, the thing that I said yesterday and the thing that I will continue to say here on this show is he doesn't just post stuff for no reason. This is not a photo that makes him look cool. There's a bunch of other photos where he could have posted that make him look cool instead of the one where it looks like he's upset. But we got a new report today from Andrew Filipponi, which claims that TJ Watt did not like a report that he saw we'll talk about who that report might have been from here in just a second, but he wanted to show his frustration on his IG story. Now, keep in mind, this is Pony, so take it with a grain of salt. But this is what he had to post earlier on his X account. TJ Watt IG picture rumor. Watt heard about a media report that the Steelers want to re-sign him, but that it would be less than Myles Garrett. It didn't sit well with him, which, for the record, I agree with him on. Thoughts? And I think that the report that he is referencing here is probably from Diana Rossini, who works for The Athletic, and she put out kind of a report earlier this week that the Pittsburgh Steelers were interested in him, and she speculated that the contract for Watt would be less than what Myles Garrett got, which was $40 million per season earlier this offseason with the Cleveland Browns. This is what Rossini had to say earlier this week. He still plays at an elite level, talking about Watt, but turns 31 in October and is in the final year of his contract. It feels unlikely he tops Garrett's mark, but expect any extension to beat that signed by the Texans' Danielle Hunter at $35.6 million per season. Now, if this report from Filipponi is true and TJ Watt saw that report and was not happy about it, that almost certainly means that he's going to be asking for the Myles Garrett number here, $40 million per season on his next contract to stay with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And obviously that's a lot of money. All right. And, when you take a look at, the highest paid edge rusher and then the highest paid non-quarterback, these could be the numbers that Watt is trying to get to on his next deal. Garrett got that $40 million per season number flat out from the Cleveland Browns earlier this offseason. And then Jamar Chase, weeks after that, got the highest paid non-quarterback contract at $40.1 million per season. So it's very possible that TJ Watt wants to be the highest paid edge rusher or potentially even the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history in order to stay here in Pittsburgh. And him putting that photo out on his IG story is just showing maybe just stirring the pot a little bit here to try to get negotiations going. And, I can't really sit here and blame TJ Watt for wanting that. All right. He, over the last several seasons, has been one of, if not the most productive edge rusher in all of football. He is, at this point in his career, still a perennial defensive player of the year candidate year in and year out. And, do I blame TJ Watt for thinking that he deserves to be the highest paid defensive player and non-quarterback in football? No, I can't blame him for wanting that. Would I have loved for him to say, you know what, I love the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'll sign on the dotted line for $36 million per season, and I'll take a little bit of a discount here, given the circumstances? I would have loved that, sure. But, the fact that, the market is set at $40 million with Myles Garrett, and TJ Watt probably has at least some source of pride there in terms of the money that he ends up getting on his contract. He feels like he's the best defensive player in football. He probably feels like he's the best non-quarterback in football and the most valuable non-quarterback in football. And I can't necessarily blame him for wanting to be compensated for what he believes that he is. Now, my take on whether or not the Pittsburgh Steelers should go out and sign him to that number is, I know it's a lot of money. But if the Pittsburgh Steelers are serious about winning and winning now, I would personally pay out to keep TJ Watt here in Pittsburgh. And the reason for that is because he is this team's most valuable player, period. All right. You take a look at his production over the last 4 seasons. He has missed some time with injury, but when he's healthy, his production is just absolutely off the charts, not only in terms of getting after the quarterback. Obviously, we know he's a great sack artist, one of the most versatile pass rushers in all of football that can beat you in every single way imaginable. But he's also a really good run defender. He gets in the backfield with massive tackles for loss, impact plays in that regard. And then also he leads the league in forced fumbles since he entered the league by a very wide margin. So he's somebody that creates turnovers at a very consistent clip as well. Had 6 forced fumbles just last season. And if you want to see the impact that TJ Watt has on this football team, just a 1-10 record in games that he doesn't play. And, the fact that this team has had, let's just call it, lackluster offensive play over the last several seasons, and they're still in playoff contention every single season, points to the defense keeping them in games and TJ Watt's impact, creating turnovers, creating sacks, ending drives, doing all the things that he does to impact the game. He's certainly the most valuable player that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had on their roster for a very long time and continue to have on their roster right now. And plain and simply, guys, TJ is this team's most valuable player. I will say that time and time and time again. And now that it looks like the Steelers will be shifting to, probably an Aaron Rodgers contract that isn't all that expensive. At least I don't expect it to be super expensive. And then they're going to be bringing in a new kind of younger quarterback to learn behind him. That young quarterback's going to be on a rookie contract. So you can technically afford to pay an edge rusher this kind of money. And if the Steelers are serious about trying to win now and trying to win before Cam Hayward retires after 2 more seasons, then you don't have a choice. You got to bring back TJ Watt, and you got to pay him what he wants. TJ has the leverage here, and he absolutely knows it. He knows that he can go up to them and say, you can pay me what I want, or you can trade me, and I know you don't want to do that. So Watt definitely has the leverage in these negotiations. And I think whether you like it or not, whether you want them to trade TJ Watt or whatever else you want them to do with the contract, and whether you like paying a guy, an edge rusher, $40+ million per season, I think the Steelers are definitely committed to keeping him here long term. I think at the end of the day, he's going to get the money that he thinks that he deserves. So you make the call for me down there in the comment section. Does TJ Watt deserve that money? $40+ million per season to be the number 1 edge rusher for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Type P if you would pay TJ Watt that contract number, or type T if you would prefer to trade him for some draft picks here and start over at the edge rusher position. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Turtle Beach. And while I'm talking about Turtle Beach today, make sure you go down there in the comment section, find that pinned comment, and answer today's pinned question. And with that, I have a word from our sponsor today at Turtle Beach Headsets. And remember the feeling of booting up your favorite game for the first time, the late night sessions, the epic wins, the sound of the lobby filling up with friends. Gaming wasn't just something you did, it was a whole experience. And the right headset made all the difference. Turtle Beach is bringing that feeling back with the Gen 3 Stealth 700 headset, and it's like stepping into the golden age of gaming all over again, only this time the audio is richer, the surround sound is more immersive, and the battery lasts an insane 80 hours. No more crackling mics, no more missed call-outs, just pure uninterrupted gaming, exactly the way you remember it, but better. For a limited time only, get 10% off your entire order with code CHAT at turtlebeach.com. Don't miss out. Stay warm and level up your game with 10% off at turtlebeach.com using code CHAT. And guys, I have a Turtle Beach headset. Actually, I have a Gen 3 Stealth 700 at my apartment here in Dallas, Texas. And whenever I get away from the office, I'm trying to get away from the Aaron Rodgers drama, which we'll talk about here in just a second. I just put on my Turtle Beach headset and I go online. I play some Madden football with my friends. I love doing that. I love doing that with all my friends here at Chat Sports. I love to kick Coop's ass every single day here on Madden. Of course, I'm doing it with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So head on over to turtlebeach.com and use code CHAT at 10% off your order. That's 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com with promo code CHAT. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. And a big shout out to Turtle Beach Headsets for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. So now we can move on to the Aaron Rodgers portion of today's edition of Steelers Talk, where we have a new rumor here from Josina Anderson who says that her Steelers source says that the wait for Aaron Rodgers has led to a quote-unquote weird vibe inside the Steelers building as they await a decision from the four-time NFL MVP. This is what Josina had to put on her X earlier today. Said, meanwhile, from a league source on the Steelers, the vibe, I would say it feels a little weird here. The running joke around here right now is who's going to be our quarterback? Now, I wouldn't say there's any panic, though, but the current QB depth says what it says. And, my question surrounding this entire debacle, guys, and it's the same question that everybody has right now, is A, what's the holdup with Aaron Rodgers? It seems like he's got just three choices here. Pick the Pittsburgh Steelers, pick retirement, or wait for a better opportunity down the road later this offseason. And, how long exactly are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to be willing to wait on a decision from Aaron Rodgers? Because at some point here, like, the longer he waits, the more it seems like he really doesn't want to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, we're now a month into free agency. We're now 2 weeks past Russell Wilson signing with the New York Giants, taking the Giants out of the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. Like, Rodgers has had very limited options for like the last 2 weeks, and he still hasn't made a final decision as to whether or not he wants to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now we're just 2 weeks away from the start of the NFL draft. Here are some possible deadlines here that the Pittsburgh Steelers could say, Aaron, you got to make a decision by this point or we're moving on. All right. So the first one that could be coming up here is April 21st. That is a Monday, which is the start of voluntary team workouts for the offseason. And, according to Tom Pelissero, who also had a report today on the Rich Eisen show, he's saying that the multiple Steelers players inside the locker room are showing kind of signs of being a little, antsy, that they want to have this quarterback situation figured out. And they're kind of sick and tired of the waiting for Aaron Rodgers at this point. And, of course, you got those OTAs that start in 10 days, and you would really want Rodgers to be there. But then you also have the start of the NFL draft on April 24th, 14 days from now, 2 weeks from now. You would certainly like to have Rodgers under contract before that. But it's also possible that he's waiting for some reason for the end of the NFL draft. Maybe he doesn't want them to take a quarterback in round one. Maybe he wants to see their entire draft class before he makes a final decision. And then after that, you take that jump all the way to June 10th, where that's the first mandatory minicamp for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then you get all the way to late July with training camp. And Mike Tomlin said at the NFL owners meetings in Palm Beach last week that he would be willing to wait potentially as long as training camp to bring in Aaron Rodgers to this football team. And, in terms of these dates, I think obviously the one that we all want here as Steelers fans is for it to happen as soon as possible and for it to happen ideally before the voluntary workouts begin. Because as a Steelers fan here, I want my quarterback to want to get this thing right, especially a new quarterback working with new wide receivers, new weapons, and a new offense. I would want Aaron Rodgers to be enthusiastic and want to be in Pittsburgh to work throughout the offseason program, to build chemistry and communication with his wide receivers and with Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, so that this thing can be as well-oiled as it can possibly be as we head into the 2025 season with him as this team's starting quarterback. But it does appear at this point that Rodgers could be waiting for the NFL draft, because obviously he doesn't have enough information at this point in time to make a final decision. So if he is truly interested in the Pittsburgh Steelers and he still doesn't have enough information to make a decision, the only other time left this offseason where he's going to learn more about what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to look like next year is the NFL draft, when they take new players to add to this roster. Now, if I am the Pittsburgh Steelers, if I'm Omar Khan, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I would set a hard deadline date for Rodgers sometime probably right after the NFL draft, whether it's that Sunday or whether it's that Monday after the NFL draft. And I'm saying, Aaron, this is as long as we are willing to wait for you, but we are not going to wait all offseason long while you wait for another opportunity elsewhere. And then you begrudgingly sign with us right before training camp because you have no other options. But that's not what we're going to be doing here. You either want to be here, you want to work with your new teammates, you want to try to build something special here in Pittsburgh, or you don't. And it's really that simple. So I think that, I would love for him to be here and signed on and ready to go for those voluntary workouts at April 21st and really do everything with the Pittsburgh Steelers and their offseason program, like I said, to make sure this offense can be the best it can possibly be heading into the 2025 season. But what I'm not willing to do, guys, and what would truly embarrass this organization is if it's well known Aaron Rodgers is looking for an opportunity to go to the Vikings or the 49ers or some other quote unquote better opportunity for him all throughout the offseason, hoping for an injury or hoping that an opportunity comes up elsewhere. And then all of a sudden, right before training camp, saying, well, I have no other options, so I guess I'll go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, how embarrassing would that be for the Pittsburgh Steelers organization? So listen, man, the NFL draft is the end of the kind of talent acquisition period of the offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. So once you get to the end of that, you give Rodgers kind of that final warning saying, all right, you have a deadline here. And if you don't make this decision and if you don't want to play with us, that's fine. We can move forward. We can probably draft a quarterback early in the NFL draft, but you got to give us an answer here, man, because we got to have an answer in terms of who's going to be our starting quarterback in 2025. And if it's not Aaron Rodgers, you better bet your bottom dollar here that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be drafting a quarterback early on in the NFL draft. Now, maybe it won't be in round one. Maybe they trade down and they get an additional day 2 pick, and then they use that additional day 2 pick on a quarterback. But it's certainly a possibility. If Aaron Rodgers is not on this roster, these are the 4 quarterbacks that have gotten some round 1 hype surrounding them when it comes to the Steelers. Shedeur Sanders, if he falls, Jackson Dart, I think this might be the most mocked player to the Pittsburgh Steelers in mock drafts recently. Tyler Shuck out of Louisville, somebody they've shown a lot of interest in. And then Jalen Milroe got an invite to the NFL draft in Green Bay this year. Certainly could be a possibility for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It certainly seems like they're interested in him as well. Now, out of those 4 options, I think my preference would be to trade down and then probably take Tyler Shuck out of Louisville. It's not ideal, but I do think that he is the most ready to play and most ready to help an NFL team win compared to Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart at this point in time. And I actually do think the upside with Shuck is there. He's got a big arm. He's mobile. He can make plays out of structure. And I really like his polish in terms of his footwork, in terms of his upper body mechanics. He throws with great touch down the field. There's a lot of things to like about Tyler Shuck. So if they traded down and took him either in the late first or early second round, I think that would probably be my preferred option if they don't have Aaron Rodgers on the roster. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Will Aaron Rodgers sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers before the NFL draft? So he's got 2 weeks to sign with the Steelers for it to be a yes answer to this question. But at this point, man, he's made them wait this long. I'm starting to feel like it's going to be after the NFL draft here, guys. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. Give me a yes or a no to finish up today's show. And that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk, guys. Some concerning rumors surrounding TJ Watt and Aaron Rodgers today. Hopefully everything works out and Watt and Rodgers are both on the Pittsburgh Steelers and happy heading into the 2025 NFL season. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already for more Steelers coverage tomorrow. A reminder, I'm going live tomorrow on this channel kind of for a Friday live show. We got some cuts that we're going to be doing some cool segments, some draft stuff. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already for more extensive Steelers coverage all throughout the weekend.